Welcome all on yet another beautiful Monday evening weather-wise. And I want to welcome the students from Drew University who are joining us, our journalism class. Hopefully we'll give you some good material to work with tonight. And speaking of Drew University, I periodically provide updates on the Drew Forest. Tomorrow we'll be meeting with the Land Conservancy of New Jersey to begin the process of writing grant application to the Morris County Open Space Fund. We will be doing everything within our control to submit a strong application. We're also looking for additional funding sources to ensure that we have the financial resources to save this valuable natural resource. To expedite the process to reach the sale agreement with Drew, I have requested a direct meeting with Drew University Board of Trustees. A sale agreement would have to be approved by them, so by meeting directly, we hope to have that agreement in place before application goes to the County Open Space Committee on June 9th. And shifting gears a little bit, and over the last 2 weeks, busy doing a little bit of reading. So I had the opportunity to do reading night at Torrey J. and Central Avenue Schools. This is part of their Read Across America Day recognition, which I believe was March 3rd. Torrey J., I read Dragons Love Tacos. Bless you. And Dragons Love Tacos, the sequel. And I think the sequel was good as the original. And obviously I did learn that dragons love tacos, but the most important thing is I learned that they don't like spicy tacos. So if you're having a taco party for your dragons, stay away from the spice. And then at Central Avenue School, I read Giggle Giggle Quack about Farmer Brown's very mischievous duck. I recommend all the books. And then Friday, May 3rd, I attended coffee with a cop at Waverly, and I want to thank Chief Misha and all our officers for hosting. It was great to see our residents going to get to know our officers over a cup of coffee, and this was an example of the commitment to community. And not only was there a strong presence of our current officers, but many retirees stopped by to say hello, and that really shows our police department's commitment to community. And then last Monday, I attended the Madison Education Association Friend to Education Award reception, and this year's recipient was parent associations that support our 5 schools in Madison. It was great to hear about all the great work, and anyone that has had students in the schools or has worked in a school, you know the positive impact of the parents' organizations to support the education process. And then I wrapped up the week by marching in the Morristown St. Patrick's Day Parade. The snow cleared just in time for a great parade, and it was nice to see all the Madison residents in attendance. And an update on our west wing doors. As you know, this is the door from the sidewalk off of Green Avenue, which is our barrier-free access with a ramp. And the door assist has been out of commission for quite a while. And I'm happy to say that starting this Wednesday, the 15th, through Friday the 17th, the doors will undergo reconstruction to repair the power assist mechanism. So during this time, the ramp and the doors will not be accessible. Residents who require special arrangements during this period of inconvenience are asked to call the Borough Clerk's office at 973-593-4041. Again, 973-593-4041. And then a member of our staff will be very happy to assist you. And we appreciate everyone's patience and cooperation through this process. And got a couple of anniversaries to recognize. Captain Ed Nunn of the Fire Department and Joseph Forday from the Department of Public Works both started their Madison career 20 years ago on March 11th, so if you see them, please congratulate them on their 20-year recognition. And our Employee of the Month is Personnel Director Sammy Emmerich. So aside from her regular personnel and payroll responsibilities, Sandy has spent many extra hours during the last several months coordinating the change from New Jersey State Health Benefits Program to a new provider that will save cost savings to both the borough and borough employees. And anyone that has ever worked in HR probably knows the most stressful time of the year is when it's open enrollment. So she went through the open enrollment time for the state plan and then had to go through the whole process of shifting over everyone to a new plan. So her patience, being on top of it. I've already heard from a couple of employees how great a job that Sandy did to make this as smooth a process as possible. And it, besides just all the paperwork, the major undertaking involved planning educational seminars for all employees, making sure all the enrollment information was submitted to the new carrier all on time so their coverage would be uninterrupted. We have a couple of proclamations to present today. First one is National Poison Prevention Week, March 19th to 25th. I don't think anyone is here to accept this one. I won't go through the whole thing, but I do want to highlight some important things about this proclamation, which is why we do many proclamations. So Congress designated the third week in March to be National Poison Prevention Week in 1961, and that was to raise national awareness of the dangers of accidental poisoning and ways to prevent exposure to potentially dangerous products and substances and how to respond in poisoning emergency. And the New Jersey Poison Control Center at Rutgers, New Jersey Medical School joins the poison control centers across the nation to educate people of all ages. And in 2023, the New Jersey Poison Control Center marks its 40th anniversary. And the public and medical and emergency service professionals alike can easily access Poison Control Center's free services through the Poison Helpline, 1-800-222-1222. So again, that was 800-222-1222, or njpies.org. And there's specialized healthcare professionals at the State Poison Control Center provide emergency assistance, offer guidance on poison prevention, and answer questions concerning potential exposure to callers of all ages. And whereas most reported poison exposures involve children 5 years old and younger, and most poison-related deaths occur in adults, and whereas Poison Control Center's life-saving service are available 24/7 and save healthcare dollars by eliminating thousands of unnecessary emergency room visits, and whereas New Jersey Poison Control Center encourages people not to guess and wait for symptoms to appear or waste time searching for medical information online to get immediate help from Poison Control Center when a potential dangerous exposure occurs. Now, therefore, I, Robert H. Connolly, Mayor of Borough of Madison, on behalf of the governing body, do hereby proclaim the week of March 19th through 25th, 2023 as National Poison Prevention Week, and encourage everyone to pledge their commitment to ensuring the safety of themselves, their families, and their community. And a quick personal story about playing it safe and making the call. As I was a young parent with 2 young children, my younger son at the time was probably 3 years old, and all of a sudden I saw him with a bottle of Tums and his mouth was foaming, and didn't think that was a good thing. So I made a quick call to Poison Control, and they reassured me saying, he will be perfectly fine, don't worry about it, just don't make a habit of it. And so that was the last time he touched the Tums, and we were much more on top of things. And now I'd like to invite Steve Tombolakian to come forward, and also our planning board members that are in attendance, including our previous planning board member, Rachel Ehrlich. Got that ready? Just before I come down here, to emphasize the importance of this proclamation and resolution, this is our normal framing. This is what we're. Oh. So those who attended our annual reorganization meeting back in January saw Steve get recognized with a Borough Medallion for his years of service. And we didn't want to let that go with just one recognition. So the planning board wanted to do their own recognition. So this is actually a resolution from the planning board. The problem is that the reason Steve is no longer on the planning board, he now has professional conflict with the planning board meeting, so we couldn't get him to a planning board meeting to present this. So we've got planning board members here, and we got Steve on this beautiful night. So Madison Planning Board commemorative resolution. Whereas Steve Tombolakian, Esquire, has served as a member of the Madison Planning Board from January 2007 as chairperson from the board from 2010 through 2022. And whereas the
board in particular wishes to recognize that Mr. Tombolakian's legal ability and engineering expertise were invaluable for the guidance of the board in all matters coming before it. And as board chair, he greatly contributed to the board's reputation as a respectful, fair, and efficient board. And whereas the Madison Planning Board wishes to acknowledge with deep appreciation the 16 years of devoted service of Mr. Tombolakian, whose efforts for these many years were a great benefit to this board and the residents of the Borough of Madison. And whereas the Planning Board wishes to adopt this formal resolution of recognition of Mr. Tombolakian's many contributions and to place this recognition upon the permanent records of the Planning Board. Now, therefore, on behalf of all Planning Board members who have served with over the years, who have been your friends and privileged to serve with you as members of the Planning Board, on behalf of the residents of the Borough of Madison who have benefited from this service, this resolution of recognition, appreciation is hereby adopted by the Borough Madison Planning Board on this 21st day of February 2023.
Guys, this is terrific. You know, these past 16 years, I've gotten to know lots of people in Madison. What a great town it is. It's a volunteering town. People really love their community. It is a community in every sense of the word. Everybody pitches in to make this town even better every year. It's not just the volunteers. Jim Burnett, Ray Cody, Elizabeth, top notch, top notch. I mean, the town is, I work in a lot of towns around the state. Madison, by far the best. I mean, I live here, so I'm biased, but it's really just everything in this town is always done first class, top notch, always thinking about what's best for everybody. And thank you, Mayor, thank you, Rachel, Peter, George, and thank you, everybody. It's been a great 16 years. I'll still be around and trying to contribute as much as I can, but volunteering is the best thing that happened. And I think everybody should do it, and you'll really get more out of it than you put into it. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve.
Steve, great comments, and you truly are part of the formula that makes Madison click. So thank you. We now move on to reports from committees. Community Affairs and Health, Mr. Hoover.
Thank you, Mayor. The Downtown Development Commission will hold its next meeting on Thursday, March 16th at 7:15 at the Hartley Dodge Memorial Building Committee Room, 12th floor. The public is invited to attend. That's right next door. May Day will now be called Madison Green and Clean. It will take place on Saturday, April 29th, from 9 o'clock in the morning till 2 or 3 in the afternoon. The event will be relatively similar to what we've done in the past years, but we will enhance the format to focus on environmental and green initiatives. Please email ddc.rosenet@rosenet.org for more information. The 2023 season of Madison Farmers Market will open on May 25th. Vendors are being accepted now. Please call ddc@rosenet.org for more information. A new business called the Town Vets, located at 33 Central Avenue, will hold a ribbon cutting on Saturday, April 8th from 11 a.m. Please stop by and welcome them to Madison. The Chamber of Commerce, Search for Shelley, the Easter Egg, will begin March 17th and run through March 31st. The Easter Fun Fest is Saturday, April 1st from 11 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. The 2023 Taste of Madison is Monday, April 24th at Berkeley Country Club. Tickets are available for pre-purchase at the Gary's Wine and Marketplace and garyswine.com. The Madison Community Arts Center, the Film Society of Summit has scheduled 7 additional film dates at the center, including 2 late morning matinees. 2 to 3 movies are scheduled. Information is up on the Madison MACA website. The new, I have trouble with cataracts, which is my problem with seeing this. The Quiet Girl, directed by Colin Balreid, screenings are scheduled for society members April. The general public is invited to attend. Don't Close Your Eyes. Ukrainian artists respond to the war received an excellent article in the Madison Eagle last week. Additional events have been scheduled. On April 24th, the Thomas Edison Film Festival will present 2 short films on Ukraine starting at 7:30. On April 29th, also at 7:30, local resident Yana Kane will read her translations of poems she received almost weekly from established poets in Ukraine. On April 1st, the Summit Film Society will present an award-winning documentary on the war in Ukraine. Julie Blue by American filmmaker Roxy Tapatwich, 8 o'clock, and April 2nd, Ukrainian pianist and Madison resident Larissa Matulun, sorry, I can't pronounce the last name, will perform a piano concert along with Ukrainian dancer Okiana Orban on 4 p.m. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And Public Works Engineering and Finance, Ms. Ehrlich.
Thank you, Mayor. So, from the Finance Department, we remind everyone that tonight we will have our 5th presentation on the budget. Over the past several months, we have discussed capital, revenues, utilities, and open space. On February 13th, we had a presentation on the municipal budget and fund balance. And on the 27th, we had a number of very detailed and informative presentations from the department heads. The budget is one of the most important decisions that council makes. The process revolves around the 2014 strategic planning guidelines. We continue to be guided by this important document and the work of our friend and former council member Ben Wolkowitz. Tonight we will cover the utilities, fund balances, and the municipal budget one final time, and we will also go over those strategic planning guidelines in detail. If we have consensus to move forward and direct the staff to draft the official municipal budget document for introduction at the March 27th council meeting, the official document will then be posted for review by the general public for 28 days as required by state statute. These have been challenging times. Municipal revenues continue to be below pre-pandemic levels, and corporate tax appeals are a serious concern that we must continue to monitor and deal with. As a result, we've had to trim back our capital projects for the coming year. Madison is not immune to larger economic forces. The borough's cost of doing business is impacted by significant increases in health insurance, fuel costs, and the procurement of everyday goods and services that have also risen in cost. In order to keep on firm financial footing and be able to fund our important capital projects, the administration has requested a 2% tax increase, which we will discuss tonight. As a reminder, this reflects a monthly tax increase of $5.05 for the average home in town. We strive to be transparent with our budget process. Many school boards and municipal governing bodies do not publicly talk about the budget until the state document is introduced. As previously mentioned, this is our 5th budget discussion, and we have not yet introduced the state document. As a reminder, all of our presentations, along with a number of other documents, including the audit, annual debt statement, and annual financial statement, are available on the annual budget process section of our rosenet.org website. Tonight, we also have a statement on the safety of the borough's deposits, coming on the heels of the recent bank failure at Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank, which are concerning, but residents should understand that our municipal bank deposits are protected. The federal government provides insurance on deposits through the FDIC up to $250,000 per account. New Jersey has taken this a step farther. The Governmental Unit Deposit Protection Act, or GUDPA, is a supplemental insurance program created by the New Jersey legislature to protect the deposits of local governments. The program covers school districts as well as municipalities, and public funds in excess of the FDIC insured amount are protected by the GUDPA. Municipalities are required by law to deposit their funds in banks that participate in the GUDPA program. As part of the program, each bank that participates must pledge additional collateral, and if the collateral is not enough, other institutions holding public funds would be assessed. This is how the assets are protected. While the protections are not a 100% guarantee of the safety of municipal funds, it is important to note that no governmental unit has ever lost protected deposits under the GUDPA. And in addition to the GUDPA, we have adopted a strict cash management plan that adheres to New Jersey State statute for local government. That's the end of the finance report for tonight, but I have Public Works and Engineering to go. The Parks Department is now working on renovating the Lucy D. Field bathrooms with upgraded lighting, stalls, sinks, and fresh paint. Big thank you to Roberto Prizzi and Sebastian Basilino, who are leading the project. This is something the DPW has wanted to do in-house for some time, and we now have the leadership in the department to leadership in place to see it through. Yard waste collection has begun, and residents should check rosenet.org for information about collections. The pickup dates have not changed from last year. There were a couple of road salting events that went smoothly, and we have not used much salt this year, and as a result, we will be buying less this year to top off the salt storage. The engineering department reports that for both the Cook Avenue parking lot and the MRC basketball pickleball court, that plans and specs are complete and will be advertised for bidding this month. For the Dodge Playground reconstruction, equipment orders are in progress, and bid documents are being prepared for the Madison Library interior renovations and the MRC solar carport project. I also want to congratulate the Sustainable Madison Advisory Committee. The function of Sustainable Madison is to participate in the Sustainable Jersey Certification Program, where we submit numerous actions for which we are certified and receive points as part of a ranking system for showing how sustainable we are as a town throughout, compared to other towns in New Jersey. There was a change in the submittal schedule this year, and Sustainable Madison had to move up their activities and submit 30 actions for review last month, which is head and shoulders above what many towns will submit over the course of a whole year. So I just want to congratulate that committee on their hard work, on going above and beyond to continue to demonstrate our sustainability and to work to meet the new deadlines for certification this year. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you. And Utilities and Public Safety, Mr. Landrigan.
Thank you, Mayor. From the Electric Department. The Electric Department has been working for a few days at 297 Main Street, a new building nearing completion. The department is working on the large underground electrical service and hanging a new transformer. The contractor is paying for all materials at the site. The department has had numerous site meetings at the various construction projects throughout the town, including the projects at Lincoln Place, Starbucks, and the Madison Mall Apartments. And finally, the Electric Department removed the parking lot lights at 28 Walnut Street, and they'll be using them at alternate locations throughout the town. From the Water Department, the skating rink on Rosedale Avenue has been emptied for the season. And finally, Valve Tech, an outside contractor, will be operating the water main valves in accordance with the Water Accountability Act from the Department of Environmental Protection. If you experience discolored water, please let your faucet run until the water is clear. From the Police Department, on March 3rd, the Madison Police Department had a successful outing at the Waverly Restaurant during Coffee with a Cop. They want to thank all who showed up and conversed on important Madison topics. They hope to do it again. The Madison School Resource Officer and DARE instructors took part in Reading Across America at Torrey J. School last week. They enjoyed meeting with the young students, reading to them and answering all their questions. And then finally, during the first week of March, all officers were recertified in first aid, CPR, and the use of a defibrillator. The training was approximately 4 hours in length, and all sworn officers, school resource officers, and communication officers. Okay, and from the fire department, during the month of February, the fire department responded to 66 fire-related incidents and 32 medical calls for a total of 38 incidents for the month. The department took delivery of the Lucas automatic CPR device. All fire department EMTs have been trained on it, and the device is in service. On February 27th, Madison Lieutenant Drew Atchison and firefighter Tom Boylan were able to safely rescue a dog that fell through the ice of a shallow pond located at Drew University. They used a long pike pole to hook the dog's collar and bring it safely to shore. And now finally, this is the most important one, my favorite. Congratulations to Madison firefighters Joseph Gilmore and Sean Norick on taking first place at the second annual Fire Department Chili Cooking Contest at the Morris Plains Fire Department. I love chili, and I'm glad they're from Madison. Thank you, Mayor.
Cooking with fire, as they say.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Now move on to communications and petitions.
Excuse me, do health,
Okay, we'll go back to health, yep.
okay.
Go ahead.
From the Health Department, on the communicable diseases, Morris County's COVID activity level is low. Outbreaks of COVID, influenza, norovirus, etc., in schools and long-term care facilities have been reduced in frequency and severity since January and February. And environmental, the department is gearing up to conduct an annual census this summer in Madison that will likely involve door-to-door visits by college student interns. More information will be shared to ensure residents are well aware of this initiative before we launch in late May. Nursing. Free blood pressure screenings are available at the Health Department next to the Borough Clerk's office at Lartley Dodge Memorial on the third Friday of each month. No appointment is necessary. You can also get your COVID booster or flu shot while you're there. Madison Health Education. Madison and Westfield Health Departments staff are co-hosting a chronic disease self-management at the Library of the Chathams beginning on April 11th. This free 6 weeks evidence-based learning session will run from April 11th through May 16th from 1:30 to 4 p.m. and will cover chronic conditions including diabetes, cancer, high blood pressure, anxiety, and depression. Residents can sign up by calling Amy Lewis at 908-789-4070, extension 4080, or mailing alewis@westfieldnj.gov. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And communications and petitions.
None received, Mayor.
Before we go on to the next invitation for public discussion, I just want to go back to Steve Tombolakian's reception. He did mention names, but I didn't introduce our other planning board members who are here. Peter Fleming just left. George Limbach, thank you for coming tonight. Austria Bailey sends her greetings from Florida. She wished to be here, and of course, many others wish they would have been here too. And for those that came in late or tuned in at home late, we are at a reduced number on the council. As Steve mentioned, volunteering is very rewarding, but sometimes life and work gets in the way of volunteering, and so two of our council members had work commitments tonight, and one has is absent due to health issues. So we have our three members, and when we do our budget presentation shortly, our missing council members will be viewing that online and be able to give feedback to our CFO. And now we're on to our first of two invitations for discussion. This one is limited to items that are on the agenda discussion, or items, either agenda discussions, don't have my act together here today, or the resolutions. So you may comment on the 2023 municipal budget hearing and strategic planning guidelines, or you may comment on the resolutions I'm about to go through. If you want to comment on the ordinances that are up for introduction, you have to wait for the next comment period. That's also the time when you may comment on any other topic that you wish to share. And these are the resolutions that will be part of our consent agenda. Resolution 95, 2023 is shared service agreement with Mountain Lakes to provide information technology services. Resolution 96 is authorizing an extension of contract for HVAC services with Air Systems Maintenance of Kenilworth. This is an additional one-year period through March 31st, 2024. Resolution 97 is resolution of the Borough of Madison approving promotion of Christopher DeRosa to position of truck driver in Public Works Department at an annual salary of $44,571. Resolution 98 is approving special event permit to allow use of Memorial Park parking area by Karen Giordano in various dates in April and May, and then again the fall and October to December. Resolution 99 is resolution Borough of Madison authorizing release of performance bond for Madison Movie LLC for premises designated as 14 Lincoln Place. They have switched contractors, so the releasing the bond from the original contractor as a new contractor has submitted a new bond. Resolution 100 is authorizing a Friends of Madison Public Library to hold a house and garden tour fundraiser on Sunday, September 10th, 2023. Resolution 101 is approving the submission of a local efficiency achievement program grant, also known as the grant, for shared services with Chatham Borough, and this is technology related. Resolution 102 is rejecting all bids for Well-Be Facility Improvement Project and authorizing a rebid. 4 bids were received. The lowest bid was not responsive and did not meet all legal requirements, and all the other bids substantially exceeded the cost estimate for the project. Resolution 103 is appointing Jennifer Dutiel to a position of substitute crossing guard. Resolution 104 is awarding contract to Denville Line Striping for striping work under the Morris County Co-op in an amount not to exceed $50,000. This is funded through Ordinance 8, 2023. Resolution 105 is awarding contract to Riverview Paving for paving improvements on the Morris County Co-op bid not to exceed $40,000, and this is also funded through Ordinance 8, 2023. Resolution 106 is a raffle license application submitted by PTO Torrey J. Sabatini School. And Resolution 107 is settling a tax appeal on Block 4001, Lot 61.01, 84 Prospect Street. You may comment on those resolutions or the budget presentation. Again, if you wish to comment on other topics, please wait for the second comment period. If you want to comment on those things, please step up to the lectern, state your name and address, the agenda item or resolution, and then try to keep your comments to 3 minutes, but we give you a 1-minute grace and stop you at 4. Anyone wishing to comment? Seeing none, I close this part of the meeting. And we move on to agenda discussions and invite our CFO, Jim Burnett, to come forward.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to acknowledge I'm wearing my Purdue vest. Just get that right out of the way, right off the gate. Councilwoman Rachel Ehrlich set us up nicely for what's going on this evening. We're going to just talk for a few minutes about strategic planning guidelines, and we'll move forward from there. Michael, if you would move to slide 6. So this presentation that we have tonight is kind of like, if you see one, this is the one we want you to see. So if someone's out there looking, this is kind of a compilation of a lot of the material that we've pulled together. So I'm only going to touch on a number of items and not every slide. There's 31 slides. I don't want to talk to everyone, but just know that there's some good information on all the slides. This municipal budget has just some slight adjustments from what was previously presented, primarily with grants and a few lines that we needed to update. There's a small amount of additional work that we need to have on a contract basis on the dispatch desk, so we had to bump up that line. The next page, if you go to that, Michael, is a budget alternate format. It's just a different way to kind of look at the summary budget. This is, I'll call, a legacy document that was created by Art Powell during the strategic planning guidelines. We want to just produce it. There may be some people who it makes sense to look at the budget this way. We'll always continue to focus on the previous document, which we call the budget in brief. That previous document, if Michael goes back to it real quickly, that's a document that you can find on Rosenet going back, I think, to the 80s. Some minor changes to it in structure and lines, but it's something that you can look at and meaningfully understand the change and what's happened and shifted in the budget over the decades. Michael, if you go forward 2 slides, this is also a legacy document from strategic planning. It shows budget flows. Again, it's there in case people are interested. The next slide, Michael. The electric utility budget has very, very minor changes to it from January 23, just a couple of additional expenses that we needed to incorporate into the utility. The next slide is the water utility, and there are no changes from January 23rd on that schedule. I'm going to point out for the Drew students and for everyone else that's here, all of these schedules have references on them. So if you look at the water utility, we're okay here, Michael? If you look at the water utility, you'll see line W1, line W8. It just allows for easy reference if anybody ever reaches out to me or if we have any questions this evening, and also for strategic planning guidelines. If you go to the next page, bow and thank Ben Wilkowitz for everything he's done with strategic planning. I'm always going to include that image in there with him and his great smile. The next page talks about the strategic planning guidelines and the fact that it's a comprehensive way for us to use metrics to look at the changes in the budget over the years. Over the past 2 years, this is my little commentary in red on the bottom, the borough has had to deviate from some of the guidelines due to financial stress caused by COVID-19 and the global health pandemic. It's important to try to move back into compliance with most, if not all, of these guidelines as soon as practicable. So we go to the next slide, and we'll talk for a few minutes about this. Guideline 1B talks about fund balance or surplus as a percentage of total appropriations, and we are above that guideline. That references that we're in strong financial position. We know that includes all of the issues that we've had to deal with from a municipal standpoint, we're in a strong financial position, but with potential issues coming forward in the next few years, whether it's the Drew University Forest, whether it's tax appeals, whether it's affordable housing obligations, I think it's appropriate and okay for us to be above the guideline there. Operation shortfall to total appropriations, you actually see below that in small font. You may not be able to see it in the audience. It talks about the budget document, line B, and B9 and B10 divided by B35. Basically, it's the operation shortfall divided by total appropriations. We don't want to have a shortfall in operations that's too great that is funded through fund balance and through other surplus and through other ways. So we're in compliance with that, so that's good. The water and electric utility transfer versus total appropriation. So we're looking at the water utility, one line from that schedule, one line from the electric utility, and we're comparing it to total appropriations. That should not exceed 22%. We're really pushing the upper level of that, so I kind of put it in orange and wrote barely. We're barely in compliance with that. What's that mean? We're kind of transferring the most we should from those utilities to fund municipal operations and to fund municipal capital. Guideline 4A, which is the fourth one down, is debt service to total appropriation should not exceed 10%. We're well within that guideline. We have not overextended ourselves on debt. And the final guideline we are not in compliance with, and it's one that we'll probably talk about a little bit this evening. It's the capital improvement fund, how much money that we have in the budget that we appropriate to capital as a percentage of total appropriations. It should be at least 10%. For the last 3 years, we have been out of compliance with that. I've presented to council in the past, and I'll say it again this evening, the way we're making this budget work, and as Councilwoman Ehrlich said, with a 2% request for a 2% property tax increase on existing homes. The way we're making this work is by shaving back a little bit on capital improvement. We need to kind of hopefully move back into that. We have $3 million appropriated in the budget. We'd like to get back up to $3.5 million. If you look at the top of the three lines here, you see these years we were doing $3.8 million. We dropped to $3.5, and then during the pandemic, $2.8, $3.1, and unfortunately, we kind of didn't head in the right direction. I was hoping we'd be able to continue an upward trend, but we dropped from 3.1 million to 3 million. It's unfortunately the best way the administration believes we can kind of balance the budget and make it all work. We still have robust and a lot of projects going on. This doesn't include projects that are happening in the water utility. You all know that we have a $2 million project coming up on water meter installations towards the end of the year, or the electric utility and the installation of the MRC solar carport. But from a capital standpoint, from a municipal standpoint, paving the roads, purchasing trucks, fire trucks, equipment, and alike, funding the library, capital needs, we should look to endeavor to move back into compliance with that guideline. Michael, if you go to the next slide. Again, these guidelines were all created by Ben Wilkowitz and his team back in 2014, and we've been tracking them. That last chart actually showed it going back to 2011. This talks about some other items, and we're in compliance with all of them. The guideline 6B, the reserve for uncollected tax, we're a little low on that, but I'm not bothered by that. So there's really nothing of concern here. So we have a total of 11 metrics that we're looking at, and we're good on all of them except that one, which is the funding for the capital improvement fund, which we'd like to get a little higher. And to be honest with you, I'm trying to think, probably about 10 years ago, we had a real challenge, and we almost had a zero on capital improvement one year. We just had to deal with it that way. So the next slide is something I slipped in since I sent the budget to you. So this shows the Geralda Farms Office Park, and this corner here in the front lower left is the corner of Lewanika and Woodland, that very obvious building, and then running up diagonally is Lewanika Way. I've lived in town my whole life. I don't get into Geralda Farms that often. It's hard to know what buildings are what, and it certainly doesn't help when you have this numbering system that makes absolutely zero sense. 7, 2, 5, 4, 1, 3. There's no alignment to that. But what I wanted to show was the sales of the buildings that have occurred, and you have seen this because I've sent a memo to you on this a couple of times, but I really wanted to put this out in the public that, when we think about 2007, if you bought your house in 2007, you sure as heck hope that that house went up in price from 2007. Here we have office buildings, 3 office buildings that happen to have sold in 2007 and sold again in 2020 or 2021. One building sold in 2027, Geralda 1, the top one, for $52 million. It just sold a couple years ago for $16 million. So 52 to 16. Geralda 3, which is the old Quest Diagnostics building, it sold for in 2007 for $53 million. It sold in 2020 for $7.9 million. That is just an incredible drop in value. Again, I would certainly hope my house would go up. Certainly not good investments here for these office buildings. The third is 7 Geralda Farms, assessed at $33 million. I'm sorry, it was assessed at $78 million. Not assessed, it was sold for $78 million in 2007. It's now $29 million. Bob and I could probably have Councilman Landon and I could probably have a 2-hour conversation just on tax appeals. That's what he does for his business, but it is challenging, and these offices represent significant amount of assessed value. 7% of the total value of the properties in town are all of our office parks. We'll throw Realogy in there as well. So to have this significant reduction in this loss of taxes, because what's going to happen, they're all going to appeal. They're appealing, they have appealed, or they're going to appeal. We're in the midst of fighting multi-year appeals with them. We're going to be making less money from them. So that is by far away our biggest, one of our biggest concerns. If we go to the next slide, things are good. We have good municipal surplus, but we always have to, I'm frugal. I don't wear fancy clothes. I have cheap shoes. I do that on purpose, and I'm frugal with borough dollars as well, so I have to point out, maybe I'm a glass half empty kind of, or half full kind of guy, but we have some issues that we need to keep on our mind and in front of us. Affordable housing has significant potential costs. We have 5 collective bargaining agreements that haven't been settled. We have new debt payment for sewage treatment upgrades, the tax appeals that we just talked about for the office parks, and $820,000 in expenses to upgrade our electric substations. And as a reminder, when we say we're going to increase property taxes by 2%, that may sound like a lot of money. It's $300,000. Yet we're worried about trying to fund $800,000 more in capital, or trying to fund a loss of $500,000 in office, in tax appeals from offices. So the next slide is one that we'll just highlight real quickly. It talks about the tremendous benefits that Madison has to offer. About an average home in town is assessed at $667,000, and their property tax bill for 2022 is $13,704.29. The municipal portion of that was only $3,000. So I'm looking at the Drew students, because the property tax bill that is sent to our residents includes 3 components. It's the school tax, it's the municipal tax, and it's the county tax. And I don't think not everybody realizes that county does roads, county jails, other projects like that. The school does the schools. It's a totally separate budget. We're police, fire, roads, construction, and all the other municipal library. And this lists some of the things that we do: garbage, yard waste, recreation, senior citizens, sewage treatment. Not very exciting, but it's one of our top 6 most expensive items on our bill. Health department, plowing the roads, and alike. So for $3,000, that house is getting all of that. A 2% increase on that municipal portion of that property tax is $5.05. You've heard me say this before, my venti-sized chai tea latte at Starbucks is $5.95. So for less than the cost of my one Starbucks chai tea latte hot, that's what the increase per month is in the municipal property taxes, to be able to continue to offer all of the services that we provide. There's going to be no change in services. I don't think I have any other slides in here, Michael, that I wanted to point out. Like I said, there's 31 slides. I didn't want to go through all of them, but I wanted to just go through all of this. And as Councilwoman Ehrlich stated, from here we would go to drafting the official state budget document and introducing it. And I'm going to say how great we are in this process, because I just don't think it gets said enough. Don't quote me on that, Alex, that sounded stupid. But other school boards, other towns don't even talk about the budget until it's introduced. We've had 5 meetings on the budget before it's even introduced. Now we're going to introduce it to the next council meeting. So there's a lot of material out there, a lot of opportunity for people to say, I think we should spend more here, I think we should save here. And so I think our situation and our process is transparent, and I think it's commendable. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions. The hope is, as Councilwoman Ehrlich said, that at the end of this, we'll have consensus to move forward with drafting the state budget document, which will be introduced at the next council meeting.
Thank you, Jim. And I may have some more comments, but just to reinforce your last talk about the transparency we provide, the amount of information, the fact that in your PowerPoints you bring back previous slides, so it's kind of like one-stop research that people can do. I have shared this with elected officials in other municipalities, and it's like, oh my God, we're not even close to where you are. We'll have to use you as an example. So it is an amazing job, and I think our process is so important, because you would never run a business like a municipality. We are here now in March. We'll adopt this budget in April for 2023. 1/3 of the year will be gone and we adopt the budget, but that's the way it has to be done in the government world. And so by the fact we start with these presentations in the previous year and have this all information, we can adjust and refine as we go along. So I think, thank you for all your work on that. Bob?
Yeah, first of all, I agree with what Jim said in regards, and the mayor in regards to transparency. I've never seen another town be this detailed in the information it provides, and I don't know of any other town that has guidelines that it follows like this. It's incredible. I do just have one comment. A lot of the income is ratables, the taxes that come from existing buildings. If you go back a couple of slides, you talk about new ratables versus existing ratables. Probably
Sure.
one of the first.
Sure. Good question. So, Michael, we'll go to slide 6. So one of the lines that we started incorporating a number of years ago is the third line down. There's property taxes on existing ratables.
Right.
Then there's property taxes on new ratables. So what does that mean? That means an addition was put on a house. And so that house now has a higher assessed value. That's a new ratable. Or a empty lot was renovated, like on the corner of Community and Cook. There's a beautiful new building there that there really wasn't much there. It was storage and a small house. So when we have that type of development, that brings in new revenue. And for 2 years, or for last year, we didn't have any new ratables and generate new taxes. This year, we're generating $51,000. In prior years, we've generated 100, 150 or more thousand in that, so.
Yeah, I'm thinking down the road, possibly next year in 24 or 25. I know that there's an empty lot being developed on Kings Road by the Sunoco station. Then we're talking about the coming development at the Madison Mall Apartments. That should bring in significant new ratables, because they're going to be fairly large developments, correct?
Yes. And I would say that, if I'm reading your mind, I think that's the way that's going to be one of the ways we're going to resolve this capital issue.
Yeah.
How we're going to catch up on capital is that we're going to have the movie theater building finally
Yes.
constructed and becomes a tax ratable. The other properties that are going to become tax ratables or other improvements that have happened in the town. So I think that's one of the key ways we will be able to work through and ultimately in next year, the year after, have increase our capital.
And then work in conjunction with the planning board and historical preservation. Those new ratables will be great, but we'll keep them in line with keeping within the image of Madison, let's say.
Correct. Good point.
And just to piggyback on the ratable discussion, to reinforce Madison's commitment to open space, there are some towns that will chase ratables at almost any cost. So as we look at the Drew Forest, in some towns, they might just be drooling over, look at that ratable, that could be developed as property, but as it's far more valuable to Madison, to the aquifer, to the county as open space. And so there are times you have to say, no, open space, non-taxable. It is, Drew University is not taxed now, so it's neutral, but it could have been future ratable, but that's not the way we are.
Exactly.
Correct.
About the 5 presentations before the budget introduction. When I was on council my first year in 2020, I did not understand what it meant that we were just now introducing the budget after we've been talking about it for months and months. So it has certainly been an education to understand how Madison treats this information and the way that we prioritize information and transparency before the official document is even revealed. By the time that comes out, this information is basically old hat to all of us. Thank you for your commitment to sharing that information and answering our questions. Utilities was included in tonight's presentation, but we moved pretty quickly through those slides. Can you tell us a little bit in general what the long-term financial picture looks like for the electric and water utilities? I know we have big projects for both of those. We have upgrades we need to make either because of our own goals as a municipality or because of external forces that are requiring us, for instance, to upgrade our sewage processing, to have, cleaner water output. or to participate in the interconnection agreement. Where do we stand, and what's the long-term picture for water and electric?
So I think the long-term view for water is going to be very good. I think once we get the meters installed, we'll have, there's over 4,000 new meters are going to be installed in town with automated meter reading. We'll be able to help residents who have water leaks. We'll be able to look and see that meter ran literally for 24 hours straight. That's not a normal consumption pattern in a home. There might be a leak. And we're able to identify things like that. So we'll be able to help residents and also collect the proper amount. If the meter's not reading properly, we may not be collecting the proper amount. So I think the revenue from the water utility will hold that utility in good stead. The electric utility, we draw a lot out of that to support the municipal budget, and we have a $2 million dividend, and we have talked about the fact that electric costs are going up. We have purchased our electricity until the end of 2024, so a year and 3/4 about is what we've purchased through. Once we own our own electric utility. I'm looking at the Drew students. We own our electric utility, so we buy the electricity. We have our linemen with hard hats. We own the utility poles and the transformers, and we buy the electricity. We've bought it through 2024. Prices have gone up significantly since we made those purchases, so there's some cost pressures that are going to be going on there, which will cause us to have to look at some things, but so that's a concern in the out years with the electric utility, whether we can continue to hold the dividend at a full $2 million or whether we have to cut that back.
So hearing that the costs to purchase electricity are going up, I assume largely driven by fossil fuel inflation, it makes me more eager than ever to bring our solar carport project and its successor projects online. Can you tell us a little bit about what we have in store for the MRC solar carport project and how that's going to be funded?
Sure. We have a large solar carport that will energize approximately 80 to 85 homes. The equivalent of that, it will be by far the largest solar installation in Madison, and it will be borough-owned. Administration is recommending that we use federal tax dollars that we will receive. The Inflation Reduction Act that was passed last year took what was an investment tax credit that a corporation could get and is now making it a direct payment for not-for-profits and governments. We don't pay taxes, so if we don't have the ability to get a tax credit and reduce our taxes because we don't pay taxes to the federal government. So the direct payment is 30 or even 40% of the price of the installation. Installation could be about $2 million, so we could expect to get $600,000 to $800,000 from the federal government. We'll also get about $1.5 million from solar renewable energy credits from the state, which is a program that helps stimulate solar installations in the state of New Jersey. So those two payments, $600,000, $800,000 and $1.5 million, will pay for the installation completely. So in essence, the electricity we receive will be extra gravy or profit on top of it, if you will. So that's going to be one way that will, in a kind of a sneaky way, reduce our costs, because believe it or not, the municipality, this building here is municipal. We pay an electric bill to the electric utility. So the electricity from here will be generated at that carport, and there will no longer be an electric bill here. So that's kind of another way we may be able to fix the capital issue. So did I answer your question well?
Yes, thank you. I do have the one follow-on question, which is this recurring question about how we manage our electric rates for solar customers. This has come up over the years. We have a policy in place now that is a generous one and it encourages solar uptake. But one of the things that the Climate Action Committee discussed was the need to address the rate structure so that it is fair to all customers of the Madison Electric Utility, whether they are solar customers or not, whether they're large or small, commercial or residential. I know we have some code changes coming as a result of those discussions. Could you give us just a flavor of what's up, what's coming with those, and what the status of those changes will be?
Sure, a lot of changes. Some will just be on the application process, to refine the application process for all solar applications. Another will be lifting the cap or the limit that we allow on solar installations for government entities. So the Board of Education, the Borough of Madison, and the Madison Housing Authority will be able to have larger installations like the solar carport. Another, which is interesting and we haven't really talked too much about, is when a solar customer receives their credits, it's not booked on their bill as kilowatt hour credit, it's booked as a dollar credit. And that dollar credit can be used to offset electric purchases that they had at nighttime when they were purchasing electricity, and it can be used to offset the customer service charge. It's $4.86. It's not a big customer service charge, but that's the way the billing has been set up. There is a good argument to be made that the solar customers should pay that $4.86 customer service charge no matter how much they generate in solar. And in talking to our utility billing software company, we can do that. We can bifurcate that out. So they get a $4.86 bill. It might show a solar credit of $82 for their kilowatt hours, but their customer service charge of $4.86 won't go away. They'll be expected to pay that. They won't have to pay it every month because it's a little bit of a nuisance. They can pay it once a quarter or once a year. So we're not going to penalize them for that, but it would just be a small little amount, 50 some odd dollars that they would pay every year for the benefit, because there are 100 solar installations and probably 25 of them in town do not pay the borough a penny over the course of the year. For the bill we give them, for the linemen, for the backup, at nighttime they're using us and taking electricity from us. During the daytime we're giving electricity, so it seems appropriate that they pay a small amount out of equity, but that's certainly going to be something that I want council to be aware of and feel comfortable with.
Thanks, looking forward to that discussion.
Any other comments? I've got a few myself, and then we'll get a consensus vote. It's been said, Bob already mentioned it on the guidelines. Again, this was part of our strategic planning process that you won't see in virtually any other town. So it really gives not only this council, but future councils best practices to have targets to. And so it is incredibly helpful. Your discussion about capital, over the long term, not fully funding capital can be a dangerous thing, but that doesn't mean we are still very ambitious with our capital projects. And there really are two limiting factors with capital. One is the funding part, and the other is the capacity to deliver the projects. And I would say probably for the second year in a row, we are probably at the capacity level from projects that have been previously funded from other sources, and so on. It's the bid process, getting that out, the management, and so on. So it is an incredible amount of work. So we are, quite a bit being delivered this year. And then you talked about the 2% increase being $314,000. And to put that in perspective, and I'm glad you have this, if you take the health insurance line alone, $220,000. So there you go. You could say that 2/3 is going right towards health, but you could pull out other lines. And so it is, it shows the value of also our other funding sources, but the pressure points we have. Thankfully we did switch health insurance plans. If we were looking at a 20% increase, the pressures would have been far greater. I know from a resident, we had a question related to interest, just confirming that things that fluctuate, you can't predict. We can't have part of this year's budget a guess on interest. Is that correct? We'd have to.
That is correct.
We'd have to assume it on the past.
So what happens with revenues? The state does not allow you to anticipate more revenue this year than you actually received last year. That made last year's budget really challenging because the year before, we made $30,000 in interest. So we went from making $500,000 in interest to making $30,000 in interest. Now we are making more, and we're anticipating as much as we can within reason in this budget. But just because we think The interest revenue will continue to be solid for the next 8 months. We can't anticipate more than that. What will end up happening is that will generate fund balance, which it did this year. Last year, we only anticipated $30,000, and we had hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest income. So that's what supported the fund balance to allow us to use the very top line, $5.9 million of fund balance as a revenue in this budget. So you're exactly right, Mayor.
Thank you. And so at this point,
Can I say two things real quick, Mayor? I want to point out that you had said, I don't want there to sound like, and you made a good point, we're not doing capital. We're $1.8 million from the American Rescue Plan Act, and we're installing a radio system that's under testing right now. It's a dispatch system for the electric utility, public works, and the police department, and fire, and EMS, so it's a fantastic new system that will improve our communications and improve public safety. That's not counted in the $3 million because it was federal dollars. And the borrowing over at the joint meeting, we had a major $7 million improvement over there that we're paying for through debt service. That's not part of the capital improvement fund. And the other thing I want to recognize is this budget would not be possible without the support of Michael Pelessier and Chrissy Mahler, so I want to officially recognize them for helping me out with this. And without their help, it would have been a much more difficult project, so I just want to recognize them.
thank you. At this point, to give Jim guidance on preparing the budget, and this vote will be just to confirm consensus. These are actual votes to make it official, or the introduction on the 27th, and then the budget hearing and adoption on April 24th. So can I have a motion to confirm consensus for the budget as presented, including the 2% tax rate increase?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I just would like to point out, it's been said before, these costs have been rising. I think it's quite extraordinary that with sewage cost, the cost of sewage processing going up 3.8% this year, health insurance costs have increased 10% this year. This would be devastating in other municipalities. The fact that we're able to hold this to a 2% property tax increase, I think, is a testament to our prudent fiscal planning over the years. And I think, for the $5.05 a month that this translates to for the average home in Madison, we continue to offer, a very wide range of services above and beyond what other towns do, and quite an impressive portfolio of capital projects. And so I think when we take all of this into account, I think this 2% is frankly quite modest relative to the forces at play here in the larger economic world, and I think we can be proud of introducing this budget.
Thank you. So all in favor of giving Jim the guidance to prepare the budget for introduction?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, let the record reflect it was 3 ayes. It sounds like a scary creature, sorry. And we will now move on. There are no ordinances for hearing, so we will move on for the second of public comment period. This is when you may comment on any topic. Again, the same guidelines are in place, which means try to, or when you step up to the lectern, state your name, your address, write the same on the clipboard. Try to keep your comments to 3 minutes, but we give you a 1-minute grace period, and we will stop you at 4 minutes. Anyone wishing to comment, please step forward. Welcome.
Hi there, I'm Amy Chase. I live in Madison. I've heard mentioned several times tonight and in the last borough meeting about the importance of transparency. And yes, I agree, that's really important. Thank you very much for all of your efforts toward transparency with regard to the budget process. Transparency helps to ensure the activities of the government are fair and effective. When it comes to transparency, there's another feature of Madison government that I really love, which is the See-Click-Fix request tracker. I used it once last year to complain about a bunch of broken drinking fountains that I came across on my walks, and I really love this app because my request went into a queue that I could see online. I could see what my neighbors are submitting. I got a notice when my request was assigned to a department. I got a response of what was going to be done. I got notification of when the issue was handled, and I had the opportunity to continue to contribute. So I'm a huge fan of See, Click, Fix Request Tracker. And I was wondering if something like that could be used to facilitate the appointment of volunteers to our municipal committees. Right now, that process, as far as I can tell, is not transparent. When I moved here several years ago, I filled out the form to join a committee. Actually, any committee, I didn't specify, and I never heard back. I was disappointed, I forgot about it. Recently, I filled out the form again, a couple of weeks ago, and nothing, no response. As far as I can tell, I just don't know what's happening with that. So I was thinking, though, in this modern era, we could use technology to make that more of a system, so that there is an acknowledgement when you submit the form, and some kind of information about when you will hear back, who you will be hearing back from, and a commitment to actually hear a yes or a no. And if the committee that you want to be on is filled, maybe you could be redirected to another committee. I also think it would be nice if there was a published policy delineating the decision-making process. What is the criteria for getting on a committee? And I'm curious to know about why certain committees are full or harder to get on than other committees. Is it possible to just expand the number if they're volunteer? Is it possible to rotate people based on their abilities and expertise? So these are just a couple of thoughts that I would appreciate your considering. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Just a couple of follow-up comments. I appreciate your appreciation of See, Click, Fix. Even as mayor, I use that. I find it very effective that it has GPS, so you take the picture of whatever it is. You can log in the fact that it sees where you are, and you can send it. And on the flip side, I have to apologize, and I will check as far as what happened. It is my goal to confirm receipt of any citizen leadership form and give the person that sent the form an idea of whether there's openings or not and what the process is. So I will, and I have to admit that sometimes I get buried by email and things may fall through, so we'll double check and see what happened to that, and I again apologize. And just a little more background on committees. Some are structured by our ordinances, and they're adjusted based on what is needed. There's, anyone that's served on a committee, you find that sweet spot, sometimes too many, too few, or whatever. And others, such as planning or zoning, or it might be state statute. So, but we do owe anyone that sends the citizen leadership form, which is a form you should send in if you are interested in volunteering. So I encourage all those to look that up, send them in, and feel free to send an email if you don't hear back right away, but I'll work with our clerk to make sure we have a better system. Anyone else wishing to comment, please step forward.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Allison Spatola. I live in Madison. I'm reading this for Suzanne Schreiber, who was unable to attend tonight. At a time when the borough budget shows all revenues are down, does it really make sense to push Governor Murphy's energy plan? Last month, Governor Murphy announced he was shelving his update of the Energy Master Plan until 2024 to allow time to evaluate how recent policy changes impacted his original plan. The reason? He doesn't know the costs. He doesn't know the real cost to retrofit every building in the state with electric heat. NJDP estimates the cost to operate an electric boiler would be 4 to 5 times more than a natural gas boiler. With the number of renewable projects backed up for years, why not look at continuing to move to net zero emissions with plentiful sources, natural gas, propane, and oil? Renewables are inconsistent and they are costly. Today, there are so many unknowns. We don't know the real cost of converting from gas to electric. Are there state funds available for these conversions? What grants are available? Have studies been done on the cost to convert to electricity in municipal buildings? Heat pumps start losing efficiency at 40 degrees. 3 months of the year, Madison's average temperature is below 40 degrees. Doesn't that mean an alternative source like natural gas is needed to heat your home? What's the backup plan if there's a blackout? Solar? No sun, no power. Wind? No wind, no power. What's the real cost of wind turbines? There's the cost of conversion and the cost to the environment. Turbines are dripping oil, cables running up the beaches, drilling and sonar testing leading to dead whales, and now dolphins have washed up. There are no wind turbines off Hyannis, Massachusetts. Guess what? The Jersey Shore residents don't want them either. Governor Murphy wants to follow the California model, banning gas-powered vehicles by 2035. We don't know the real costs of EVs from costs of mining, slave labor, and producing batteries to battery life, battery replacement cost, performance variables due to weather, combustions, and insurance. And then there's the purchase price. A couple of specific questions. I believe there are currently 10 Level 2 public charging stations in Madison. What is the current usage of these stations? It can be very frustrating on a rainy day to see the EV spots empty while trying to park in the Cook Avenue lot. And for Climate Action Committee members, looks like a selected combination
1 minute.
of the Environmental Committee and Sustainable Madison Committee. Is that correct? At a previous council meeting, Councilwoman Ehrlich stated, quote, "All committee members are volunteers, and all volunteers are accepted," end of quote. I applied. I wasn't accepted. So much for transparency and welcoming all points of view. Thank you.
Very much. Thank Suzanne for her comments. Just a couple of things. Obviously, the reason we have a Climate Action Committee is for the long run, that we take all those things into factor, and we certainly know if action is not taken, we're going to be dealing with a much higher thing. I also keep on, because of property my wife and I own, keep on track with things up in the Hyannis area, and windmills are coming there also, and we'll follow through as appropriate with other things. The committee is set in number right now, but it is an ad hoc committee. When it gets formalized or as a permanent committee, we'll be discussing the membership and qualifications. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mary Wilson, 27 Sherwood Ave. I was alarmed when I heard Fire Chief DeRosa speak at the last meeting about the budget. This is what I heard. We are currently short one full-time firefighter, and come July of this year, we'll be short a fire chief as he is retiring. I believe he said the number of volunteer firefighters are down as well. In a normal year, when fully staffed at 14 firefighters, he budgets $110,000 to $120,000 in overtime, but in 2022, it was $230,000, which is approximately $110,000 more in 1 year. The chief also explained our town has seen an increase in construction of about 250 new homes in 10 years, with many homes being multifamily and many more in the works. I understand these homes are being built closer together and that this will cause difficulties getting fire trucks and hauling heavy fire equipment maneuvered into place. He explained our town has a current rating of a Class 3, and believes we are on our way to being demoted to a Class 4 rating. He alluded this would lead to an increase in fire insurance costs for all residents and commercial property owners. So from that conversation, it's clear to me we should spend the money to hire 2 new firefighters to prevent fire loss, to prevent loss of life and property. If we don't spend the money on the firefighters, and I realize it's a big investment, we'll likely spend the money anyway, but it will be in the form of an increased bill for fire insurance, and that affects all property owners here in Madison, not to mention making us less safe. Please, let's take fire safety seriously and start taking steps to hire now, because the chief is leaving in July. That's only 4 months away. Thank you.
Thank you. Obviously, we will be working on transition from current chief to a new chief and making sure the fire department is seamless. And again, reminder for those our Drew students and others that Madison is somewhat unique in the county with a paid fire department augmented by volunteers. We are often first responders as mutual aid calls to our neighboring towns. Neighboring towns also support us, but the safety of our residents is number one priority. Anyone else wishing to comment, please step forward.
Hello, my name is Mike George. I'm a resident at Drew University, and my home address is at Rockaway, not too far away from here. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about my kind of opinion on the Drew Forest and things like that. So I'm currently a second semester senior studying biochemistry and molecular biology at Drew. And I've come here to just really emphasize the importance that the forest really has on the Drew community, and especially its attendance and its future attendance from prospective students. When I first came to Drew, I knew little to nothing about Madison, Drew, or any of the surrounding towns. I just knew that it was a small college, private college, and it was something, I caught a little bit of interest in. But when I stepped and I fully immersed myself into the forest, I really understood what it meant to be a part of a community, especially at Drew University, and to be a part of such an amazing community here at Madison. You've done such an amazing job creating a safe environment for us students to be able to live. And part of that, there wouldn't be any students to protect in the end if, there wasn't any reason to come to Drew. Ever since I was little, I found myself in love with the environment, and now only, to these last 3 to 4 years that I've lived at Drew, it's only grown more. And much to my surprise, I learned last year that, there was an issue of selling the forest, and that really personally hurt me a lot. As it was one of the main reasons why I ended up coming to Drew, just feeling very immersed within nature and being able to, it was just different. It wasn't quite like the other colleges that I had went to. And just to wake up and feel like I wasn't in a city or some natureless campus, if the forest really does get sold, I can only really think about about the students that will never truly come to Drew, about the students that will never really get to experience what Madison has to offer, and the opportunities that they're given here in the area. And I think that, especially the forest itself has really bolstered the attendance at Drew, and to hear that it's being sold off, and then to know that that is going to dwindle away at the attendance at Drew really kind of makes me very disappointed. On top of that, it's such a great landmark for the community. I know many members of the community like to take walks there and hike all along in the different areas such as the Arboretum and the other parts of our forest as well that are fenced off from the deer enclosures. And on top of that, it's used for actual research here on campus, right, not too far away from here. And to deprive that of the students and especially the professors that work there, and their livelihood is based upon the forest as a whole, I couldn't imagine what it would feel like to be, those teachers and have that taken away from them. So I just wanted to say thank you for your time, and I really hope that the forest will be safe and sound. Thank you, and I hope I have a great night.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Anyone else wishing to be heard, please step forward. Seeing none, I close this part of the meeting, and we move on to Ordinances for introduction of ordinances. Will the clerk please read the statement? Sorry.
Okay. The ordinance is scheduled for first reading, have a hearing date set for March the 27th, 2023. Will be published in the Madison Eagle, posted on the bulletin board, and made available to members of the public requesting copies.
I call up ordinances for first reading. Ask the Borough Clerk to read said ordinance by title. Ordinance 19-2023.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison amending Chapter 15 of the Madison Borough Code entitled Downtown Development Commission.
Mayor, I move ordinance 19-2023.
I second ordinance 19-2023.
Council discussion. This is somewhat related to the comments we heard earlier. There are several positions on the DDC that have been directed to certain segments, such as Geralda Farm representative. So it is shifting some of these positions from targeted positions to at-large to make it easier to appoint and making sure we have a broader representation. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
Ms. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Ordinance 20-2023.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $30,000 from the General Capital Improvement Fund to purchase wiring and other security equipment.
Mayor, I move ordinance 20-2023.
Second?
Council discussion. And this is equipment to enhance, as it says, to enhance and this is being installed in-house, I believe, behind the equipment.
Thank you.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
Ms. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Consent agenda resolutions. Will the clerk please read the statement?
Consent agenda resolutions will be enacted with a single motion. Any resolution requiring expenditure is supported by a certification of availability of funds. Any resolution requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda. All resolutions will be reflected in full in the minutes.
Mayor, I move Resolution 95-2023 to Resolution 107-2023.
Second?
Any discussion or any that need to be pulled? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
Ms. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Right, there is no unfinished business. Approval of vouchers. Will the clerk please read the voucher totals?
From the current fund, $426,252.69. From the general capital fund, $26,516.49. From the electric operating fund, $103,620.98. From the electric capital fund, $426.43. From the water operating fund, $2,806.30. And from the trust, $14,380.89. The total is $574,003.78.
Mayor, I move approval of the vouchers.
Second?
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
Ms. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Under new business, I'd like to make the following appointments requiring council confirmation. Recreation Advisory Committee, unexpired one-year term through December 31st, 2023, Mitchell Horn, at-large member. And the Open Space Recreation Historic Preservation Advisory Committee, unexpired one-year term through December 31st, 2023, Mitchell Horn, Recreation Advisory Committee representative. Can I have a motion to approve?
Mayor,